Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kylie. As everyone is starting to gather here at the live, please feel free to message in the chat and say where you're watching from. I'm here with Diana. How are you, Diana?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about a bit the nine box grid today and to show you how you can use Factorial in your everyday life.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks so much, Diana. So Diana is here and she's from Factorial, a product specialist that will be kind of talking us through the 9-box grid, why it's a great tool to use for teams, and how managers can really benefit from it, especially with our Factorial tool, which kind of modernizes the typical 9-box grid that we would see. Wouldn't you say that, Diana? We have a modernized twist to it.
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Before we get started, let me just share a little bit about Factorial. So we're an all-in-one provider of software solutions for people teams. Our software features time and attendance management, applicant tracking, recruitment, performance management, and much more. We streamline HR processes, giving HR professionals more time to dedicate to what really matters, which of course is their people. And just so everyone knows, if you've been here before, you've probably heard me mention this a million times. We love to hear your questions and your comments. So please feel free to write any questions that you have in the chat throughout the event. We would love to hear them, and just any thoughts that you have as we're going through this. And also, if you've used the 9-box grid, feel free to tell us what you think of it in the messages as well. And we'll get to any questions throughout the event or toward the end during our Q&A. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be speaking on today. So here's our agenda. First, we're going to be talking about the 9-box grid, how we can really understand and visualize the information that it gives us. And then we'll go into a quick demo of Factorial and then take any questions, like I mentioned. So let's go ahead and get started. So here you can really visualize what the 9-box grid tells us. So here you can see the 9 boxes in each. Once you start to put your 9 box together, you'll be able to see where each person in your team falls. So to explain a little bit more about the 9-box grid, we have 2 axes. We have the potential and then we have performance. So the potential and the performance really depends on what you define as those categories for your own team or your organization. And we'll see on Factorial how it's possible to define those based on what you need. So Diana, how would you say, or why is this a great tool for HR and managers right now?
Okay. First of all, I think it's like kind of really self-explanatory on like visual, sorry. And yeah, especially for this tool, we are not just looking at the normal range like we would do with other tools like number 1, 6, and 9. No, with this tool, we can also look at like number 4 or number 5 or what diamond. It's my personal favorite. And we can look for opportunities where we can help our talent to develop or where we can maybe assist someone that is on the bottom to like get up their way.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I like what you said about that, like the top left, the rough diamond, or maybe the diamond in the rough. These types of team members can have a lot of, help developing their talent and seeing what's lacking in their performance, especially with the high potential, see how that can be improved over time. So thanks so much, Diana, for mentioning that. And as you can see, the ones that are darker, 1, 2, and 3 at the top right, would be the higher performer with the highest potential, and then bottom left, lower performance and lower potential. So let's continue on and take a look at how we can assess performance and potential. Here you can see a general way to really understand what those two mean, because sometimes it's difficult to define both of those. A really great way to define these is what versus how. So you'll see at the bottom it says performance refers to consistent results an employee exhibits, and then potential predicts the likelihood of future success. So you can really see that as the what versus how. And anyone who's watching, maybe you can say how you would define performance in your role or your team's roles, and then how you would define potential as well. It would be interesting to hear what people have to say with that. So, Diana, before we move on to our demo, is there anything that you would want to share about this grid here before we move on?
Yeah, like a lot of people think, okay, and they're like grumbling in their mind, what should I put in performance and what should I put in potential? There's no right or wrong. Like it
Mhm.
depends on the market you're working on, even maybe on the role. Of course, a person who just started their job and is maybe still in the onboarding process has different tasks to do on a daily basis than someone else who was already there for 3 years or 10 years, maybe. Yeah, we are looking for different specialties and tasks that he needs to prove.
Definitely. And that's such a good point because, and we'll see this in a second on Factorial on the 9 box feature. You can really define it exactly how you want. And even if you have different team members who have different roles and different skills that they're using in their job, you can define that on the platform and it will still show you on the grid exactly where they fall, even if they have different skills or competencies that you're measuring. So let's go ahead and I will share our screen and show you a little bit about Factorial. So hopefully everyone can see this already. So here we are in the performance section of Factorial. So when we go here, we have a few different categories, but if we go to competencies, this is the area where we can define our competencies and then our goals, and then see the 9 box grid. So here, this is where you can add your competencies. So here you can see we already have some, and this is where you'll define potential and performance. So once we head over to this or to the 9 box, or before we head over to the 9 box grid, it's very easy to add those competencies. So let's say you're managing a sales team and you really want to see their performance and their potential depending on what they do. This is where you'll come, you'll add any competencies or skills that you think that they need and how you would measure them in performance and potential. Add them here, and then also you can easily change the rating. So let's say you want to do 1 to 5, 1 to 10. This is very flexible and customizable to your team and what you need. And then when we go back to the 9 box grid here, this is where we can see the layout of each person on your team. First, we can see on the left-hand side that we have our employees. So you can select however many people, whichever team or individually. So Diana, why is this a good tool to have, being able to select multiple people or one person? Why is this a good tool to have within the feature?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always mention this when I'm talking to my clients, and they're asking this every day. They're like, "Why so many people? I just want to see performance and potential in one person. Why do I need to see everybody?" And then I'm going to be like, "Hey, if you see maybe the person on the bottom here, the red one, and you see the other one, the blue one on the really top." Maybe that's a good way to, I don't know, to integrate the connection, maybe for a mentoring program. But we can also ask the person on the bottom, hey, what would you need to get there? Or what do you think would help you to get there where the person in blue is? And we could also say to the person in blue, hey, look, you are there, right on top. What do you think could you do for the persons on the back? Would you like to go on a mentoring program, or do you have any other ideas? So I think it's like really important to see the whole group on there to see where's my whole company and where can we go in the future.
Hmm. Definitely. And that's such a good point because when you can see the relationship between each employee, maybe you can see someone who's a leader in that group and see how, like Diana said, maybe they could mentor another person within their team and, have some ideas from that. And like Diana mentioned before, it's really good to have a clear view of where everyone falls. So not just the low performers or the high performers with high or low potential, but people who are on the top left or the bottom right who may just need some development or feedback or just a conversation to see what's happening and how you can move forward. Well, great. And then, as you can see, moving down from the employee section in this drop-down menu, we have two axes. So we have the X and the Y axis. As you can see here, we define them as performance and potential, like any typical 9-box grid. So, and as you can see, we have two different performance competencies here, which are quite different. So let's say we have different people from a different team and we want to see how they're standing in relation to another. Even though they have different competencies, you can still put them together and see them together on the grid. So it's a great way to visualize that. And then, of course, moving down to potential, we said this is more of the how. So some great competencies to have here maybe could be leadership or adaptability. But everyone, feel free to tell us in the chat what competencies or skills, or if you want to say hard skills versus soft skills, you might see in potential. Let us know in the chat. And anyway, so moving to the right-hand side, that's where we have the 9-box grid. And then below that, we have our employees listed with the specific ratings that we saw from the competencies. We see that outlined here below the chart, below the graph. So like you said, Diana, if we have someone in the lower box, the lower left box, this might mean that it's a talent risk, meaning that we can take a few different routes here. One could be a performance improvement plan, or maybe starting with a one-on-one meeting to have a conversation and see why there's low performance here. In some other areas, let's say the top left or the bottom right, what are some other ways or other things that managers can do if they see their talent falling in other areas?
Yeah, for example, the Wolf Diamond that we already had before, they tend to have like a really great potential, but their performance is not so high. So we're gonna ask ourselves, okay, what's the reason behind? Why is he not performing, but he has this potential? So it's like his potential, why is he holding it back? The same goes with the high performance person with like a low potential. Why is he performing so high, but why would we say that his potential is so low? And maybe we could like even draw a cross line between these two, between the Wolf Diamond and the high performance, low potential one, and see, okay, maybe what can they learn from each other, and how can we like bring them more to the middle, because that's what we're looking for. Like the perfect way would be starting from the bottom left going to the top right directly, but since that's probably almost never happening,
Mm-hmm.
we have to go the way from the right and then to the left and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Right. Yeah. And looking at this, having that relationship between everyone um, really sees how gives you some different ideas on how you can maybe work with them together to develop that talent and see everyone going toward the top right. Um, and one thing that I wanted to say that we mentioned earlier about how we've kind of modernized this 9-box grid that is a great performance management tool. But there are sometimes always doubts with tools like this. One great thing about this one on Factorial, this feature that we have, is that it doesn't just box someone into one area. It shows based on what ratings you've given them in their skills or their competencies, where exactly they fall. So as you can see, if with all these dots, they're not just right in the center. It's really based on what you've given them here and here to see exactly where they fall and to kind of give you a better idea and be more flexible in understanding where they are and where they can improve. And moving on, so if anyone has any questions about the feature that we have here, please feel free to let us know in the chat. And we have a very great tool here today. If you guys are interested in a free trial with Factorial to see not only our performance tool here, but also other features that we have an awesome QR code. If you want to scan the QR code, feel free to go ahead. We have a 14-day trial, so you can see all of our features, whether it's our ATS, our time features, our performance, etc. Feel free to scan the QR code. You might need to hold it for a second, but it should work perfectly. And yeah, and feel free to let us know if you have any other questions. And one thing that we talked about with Diana earlier is that tools like this can really help with things like transparency, mentorship, culture. How is that true, Diana? And how are you seeing people who are companies that are using this tool? How are they improving with, let's say, transparency, for example?
Yeah, like it's especially in the past few months, I would say. Okay, probably in the past half year, it's just getting more popular and popular to like give this open feedback culture. People are asking for it. The new generation is asking for feedback. Yeah, they want to know what they can improve and what their managers think about them. It's not only just about, okay, I'm going to be good at my job, I'm going to make money, and that's it. No, they want to know what can I do better, why I'm not getting my promotion or whatever. So for the past times, business people, they have kind of adapt and now they are looking for this and they're like, okay, what can I do to give them what they want? How can I show them in an easy digital way how to become better, getting promotion, reaching their goals? Yeah.
Definitely. And right now, company culture, I mean, it's always been important, but it's such an important thing right now because um, talent has the upper hand, we would say. And this is interesting because we talked about this in our last event with another, with our talent acquisition leader here at Factorial. And we were talking about how there are so many job opportunities and less talent. So really, people have the upper hand here. So company culture is a very important thing that companies need to assess and understand how they can improve it. And tools like this can really make it easier to, like you said, Diana, be transparent, give open and honest feedback, and kind of promote that in your organization. So not just a quarterly review, but also taking this tool with others and really allowing them to complement one another to really create that company culture and build on it over time, because it does take time. And another thing that we had talked about, Diana, is trust. So how can, let's say, the mentor idea that we had, taking someone at the top right and the bottom left and creating some type of mentoring program, how can that and why can that build trust within the team?
Trust within the team. Yeah. So at the beginning, a lot of people think, okay, it's just like a one side win situation. So they're like, okay, there's someone who's gonna control another one and that's it, and then they're gonna report this to the boss or whatever. But that's not true. It's for both sides. It's of course it's for the business owner and the boss and the HR side and so on, but it's also for the employee. We really want to help them. The mentoring program is there to help both sides and to like build trust and say, hey, if you have a problem, you can come to me. I'm not gonna directly run to your boss and tell them every little bit. I'm gonna help you. You can tell me everything, and we will see how we get you to the top. No matter what we're gonna need, it's our mission now.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, like we said about the company culture, that trust and that culture of trust is so important nowadays with so many opportunities. And so, like I said before, if you guys have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. It looks like we're getting a few now. So Joshua asked if this is going to be available later. So I'm actually going to share in the chat a link where you can sign up to make sure you get the recording. So we'll be sharing the recording after the event, and if you sign up, you'll receive an email with the live event, just so you can watch the beginning as well. Also, we have a great resource, the 9-box grid Excel template. So if you are interested in trying Factorial and you want to do the free trial, that is amazing. But if you still want to learn a little bit more about the 9-box grid, we have a great template that you can easily download. I'll share the link in the chat right now. And that's a great way to get started and just familiarize yourself with how it works as well. And also the trial is an option. So moving down, we have a question from, I'm sorry if I'm saying this incorrectly, Srujana. She says, hello, how would you suggest to assess potential on a rating scale, considering we measure it based on likeliness to succeed in the future role? That's a really good question. And I think that the good thing about our tool, our feature, the 9-box grid on Factorial, is that you can not just take potential, but create those sub-competencies. So let's say leadership or adaptability, or even likeliness to succeed if you want to create that one as a competency. It's really up to you how you want to define that. And then you can take those sub-competencies, like let's say leadership, and let's say if you do a quarterly review. Sorry, I just received a message. Is anyone else experiencing extreme buffering? And I hope everyone can hear us okay. Hope everything is all right. And but yeah, so you can determine those competencies based on what works best for you, have those ratings, and even you can add descriptions to those so your teams better understand what they mean. And what would you say, Diana? Is there anything that you would add to that? How can we assess potential? Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think you have already said most of it. Yeah, maybe it's like important to mention that the 9-box grid is not coming alone. Of course, we have a lot of different tools that can we adapt to this one. If you may have the if you may think that the 9-box tool could be a little bit from just one side, because yes, this tool is really focusing on the HR side, on the CEO side, to like give feedback to their employees. But of course, we do offer different things where the employees can give feedback back to their boss, HR person, mentor, whatever.
Definitely, exactly. And before we go, feel free to add any of your final questions. I'm going to share in the chat here the area where you can sign up to get the recording and also get that 9-box grid template. Let me share it here. And you will receive the recording by the end of the week for this webinar. So let me just make sure we didn't miss any other questions. Aditya said he's learning, he's new to this grid and looking forward to learning more. So I hope that this has been helpful. And just one time before we go, I'm going to share another QR code if anyone's interested in booking a demo to maybe learn a little bit more about either this tool or other tools that we have here or features that we have on Factorial. Feel free to scan this QR code and get that easily for you. Well, Diana, thanks so much for being here with us today. And it was great to
Yeah.
talk to you a little bit about the 9-box grid and why it's a great performance management tool. And anyone, if you have any final questions, we will get to it after the event and answer you. So thanks so much, Diana.
Thanks for my first meeting. Was a pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
and
Yeah.
someone is mentioning that the link doesn't work.
Okay, let me double check
Yeah.
the link. All right, one moment. That's very strange. Maybe it's because on LinkedIn it doesn't link it automatically. You might have to copy and paste the link because it looks like it's not making it into a clickable link. Let's see. Maybe I can add it here. No. All right. Maybe anyone who wants to say, well, if you guys are interested in getting the link, feel free to add a comment here and I will share it with you directly after the event. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Diana, and everyone have a great day. And thanks so much for joining. Hope to see you on our next event. Bye.
Bye.